The main objective, I am a consistently peaceful, active investor in all market conditions. So what does that mean, Gary?
Well, it's a very specifically chosen words. You'll see a little bit of Mark Douglas in there, and you'll see a little bit of us in there as well. And we've taken a little bit of license in what Mark Douglas does talk about, and we've brought that into our key objective for what we want to do and help you achieve, so that you have this as a core belief of who you are as a human being. Part of being a human being is that for you, you've chosen to also be an active investor as well as all the other roles you have in life. And this is going to be a core belief that we want you to come out of this training with, and not only a belief, but also to achieve those as well. So we're going to define peaceful investor.
A peaceful investor. So a peaceful investor is when you know what to do, and you do what you know. So what does that mean?
Well, it means that you've got knowledge.
Yeah.
And that knowledge you believe in and you trust it. And then you take that knowledge and you apply it. You actually go and do it. And you need some skills to do that knowledge. It's a knowledge plus skills. And the skills we're talking about here with the market is obviously mental skills. There's a physical skill, and that's basically handling a mouse and clicking enter is about the only physical skill you need. The rest is mental, right? And then
doing is conflict-free. So effortless, composed, and unworried. Big one at the end there, being unworried. So a state of mind as you're going through the process.
Correct. And people want to know, often ask what the definition of successful is. And that could be basically subjectively chosen by you. But certainly successful includes performance as well as mental performance as well. And all of these are mental performance measurements, particularly conflict-free.
And are at peace with all outcomes. So all outcomes, wins, losses, break-evens.
And losing particularly. And that's because it's easy to be at peace with wins. It's really difficult to be at peace, depending on where you are on your journey, with losing and being in drawdown. And you're going to see quite a lot of that today, but certainly more over the coming weeks.
And are on track to achieve your long-term growth and profit goals. So I think the key thing there, Gary, is long-term.
Long-term, absolutely. And this is the performance aspect of being a peaceful investor. So, sure, it'll be great to have all the, be accepting and be at peace, but really you're not going to be at peace if you're losing all the time. And you obviously need to resolve that as part of your analysis. But analysis isn't going to get there all on its own. You could have the best system in the world and the best analysis skills, even if you're not mechanical, but still lose because of your mental skills.
If you don't already have a copy of the book, go out and grab one. You can get it from Amazon, Booktopia. It really doesn't matter. It also comes in audio book version as well, so you can listen to it wherever you are, riding a bike, doing the lawns, whatever.
Absolutely. And multiple times, not just once. So let's put that into context with what the name of this training intensive is. It's process plus mindset training intensive. And so just pulling out of that quote, trading mechanically is the process part of it, the analysis part of it, and consistently successful is the mindset part of it. So 2 words, consistently successful, heap of meaning behind them. And that's what we are going to unpack and get and really dive deep into. What is the meaningful intention behind consistently successful?
Mechanical stage of trading is specifically designed to build the kind of trading skills, that is trust, confidence, and thinking in probabilities, that will virtually compel you to create consistent results. What does that mean?
Well, importantly, these quotes, these 2 are taken from the back, the last chapter of the book, right? So Mark spends a lot of time setting the scene, going through 170 odd pages, and then he gets to the end and he says, right, this is how we're going to go about doing this. This is how we're going to, the exercise that you're going to use to actually instill the necessary mindset skills that you need into your conscious and subconscious mind. So what that means effectively is that what he's saying is that you need to go through a mechanical stage first. And that is the process. So that is the analysis. It must be a mechanical, and then you will get the trust, confidence, and thinking and probabilities. Now, we're not going to go into the detail of thinking and probabilities today, but we'll just position it very quickly. But I've taken out of that quote the fact that it's process plus mindset is what's going to get you there.
Question. Why does it have to be mechanical?
I think we should unpack that. But can we just at this stage make a statement that it has to be mechanical, and it's going to become obviously clear to you, certainly the next session and the one after that there is no other way, right? There might be for 0.01% of people on the planet, as Mark used to say, 99.9% is what he used to tell me, but he truly believed that you'd have to be a superhuman being and have had an upbringing, if you like, like a Tiger Woods upbringing where he started playing golf at 3 years old and playing golf as a part of who he was. That 0.01 might even be a few more zeros and just one in front of the one as an insignificant digit. And you'd have to basically grown up from age 3 being a trader effectively and know no other way. It's a part of who you are to not have to go through the mechanical stage.
So I've got some questions just here for a moment, Gary, that I just want to run past and let everybody know about the relationship that Gary had with Mark Douglas, and to try and put a little bit of context around that and why it's so important and why Gary himself has been able to become such a consistent, peaceful investor, and why it's so important that we enable you to develop the same skills. So a couple of questions. Trading in the Zone, that's a book on the back here, was published back in about 2000, and it's been reprinted over a dozen times. So that was the last time I checked. So probably even more now. So when did you first become aware of the book?
I first became aware of the book in 2002.
Okay. Yep. And at that time, were you trading mechanically or were you subjective?
No, I was mechanical at that stage. Spent the first 5 years of my trading career from 1990 to 1995 being subjective. I didn't see it in that terminology. But yeah, I was a fundamental analyst to start, and then through reading and not being able to solve this problem through there's a massive time-consuming and massive data requirement. I've went to price action, to technical analysis, and found that through reading and bumping into people. The Australian Technical Analysts Association played a huge role in that as well. And then I came through reading books. Perry Kaufman was the initial one, and Joe Kritzinger, another one, and even Larry Williams, and then reading Market Wizards later down the track confirmed that mechanical was the way to go. And I started developing a mechanical system based on price action. So I went down this path of developing, and I'm absolutely convinced that most of the mindset I attained didn't actually come from executing mechanically. It came from developing a mechanical system. And it was when I started reading, the first time I read Trading in the Zone, 2002, I thought it was a load of hogwash. Not hogwash, probably a bit strong word, but it didn't resonate with me. And it was only until I met Mark Douglas in 2004. I read it a second time. In fact, I read it the first time, and one of our customers said, this is a great book. And I thought, well, I had a lot of respect for this person, and so I thought I'd give it another go. And I'm convinced to this day that the reason that I discounted the book the first time is that it clashed with some of the mindset, dysfunctional beliefs I had that I hadn't resolved at that stage. I had resolved a whole bunch without knowing it because I was researching and then trading a mechanical system. I'd been trading a mechanical system at that stage for 4.5 years, nearly 5 years, 1997 through to 2002. But I only put all this into context later. It took me probably a few years to put that into context.
Yeah. So we just talked about the ladder, etc. At that point in time, where do you think you were on that ladder with respect to the importance of mindset?
Yeah. So I think the first 5 years, 6 years, I didn't start becoming a bit more consistently profitable until 1997, when I've been trying this for 7 years. And I started using the mechanical system in a live environment. I was definitely, I was level 1 for probably 4 or 5 years. And then I became aware probably when I really started researching mechanical systems. So I was probably at level 2 then, but still making all the mistakes, and probably started crossing over from level 2 to level 3 in the 97, 98 timeframe. Yeah.
And so you read the book and it didn't do too much for you. What convinced you to go back and read it?
Well, I got there were a couple of customers who I had discussions with on the phone. We had a debate, I guess is probably the best. There's no heat or emotion about the merits of the book. So I went back and read it, and I read it again. And then it started really assimilating with what this was. And even the reading of the book then started helping me identify dysfunctional beliefs that I hadn't resolved yet. And that started, started resolving those as well. And then one of the customers, John, and if he's listening to this, you'll know who he is, suggested, we had customer retreats in those days. We'd had a couple already in 2000 and 2002. The next one was set for 2004 in Hamilton Island. And John suggested to me that I invite Mark Douglas. He's not going to shoot me in the kneecaps for asking. So, and it's easy. I'd taken lots of rejection in my life, having had lots of lost trades. So I contacted him, and he said, let me have a think about it. And in his way that I came to know is he went to the universe and basically asked the question as part of the creative process. And, he wrote it down on a piece of paper. Should I go to Hamilton Island and do this? He got a solution that came to him from basically asking that question. And he came back about 3 or 4 weeks later and he said, yes, I'll come. And that's what started the whole friendship and relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So he came along to the conference, the retreat there. You established a friendship. Tell us a bit about the friendship. I mean, was it just purely like a business sort of arrangement or whatever, where he came in and as a guest speaker, or did you actually become really personable and a close confidant and as a human, one-to-one?
I think initially it was definitely we had a common thing, right? And he had come at it from the psychology perspective and never developed a mechanical system. He had gone through the wilderness years. His story is public. You can find out about it. And he had failed as a trader and then decided, how am I going to resolve this? He resolved it by going to the mind. I resolved it by going to the mechanical system. And we kind of met from different angles. And obviously that resonated. We were on the same page, but it became more than that after, because we used to have long discussions about my golf and his ice hockey. He was playing ice hockey into his early 60s. So we used to talk about that on the phone over long. We used to have hour and a half, 2 hour telephone discussions and relating those aspects and relationship aspects to trading and where trading and fitted into to that whole realm of doing life, basically. And he came out to Australia again, and we hosted him at Hamilton Island for a week, got to know him well there. And then he came out, then we did a Path to Consistency workshop. We're about 16 of us, because he kept the numbers pretty small, attended that here in Melbourne for a whole weekend. It was about 22, 23 hours of intensive training. A lot of that will come out in the session. And then he came over to Perth in 2005. I flew over to meet him there. And then telephone discussions carried on for another 5 years before I went over to the United States and spent some time with him there. And I remember him, a colleague of mine, and we went and had a meal, and I'm working on this new book. And so he said, come, I want to read it to you. We went and sat in his hotel room after having had a meal and a couple of glasses of wine. And he said, I just want to read these 2 paragraphs to you. So he sat down and he read, which ended up being more than 2 paragraphs, but he went to the one paragraph and he said, it took me 6 weeks to write that paragraph.
Wow.
Because every single word had to be intentional and be meaningful. And I thought, wow, this guy's on a different planet. And this is where he spoke about the creative process and how you can get solutions. And we'll talk quite a bit about that in sessions to come, how you get solutions by having a blank piece of paper, writing a question on the top of the page. And I used this through his mentorship and writing parts of my book, Blueprint to Wealth. And even solving problems for mechanical systems and that, and it's something that stayed with me. So that's the creative process, not just mentoring and trading. And then we had him in Hawaii in 2011. He came over for a week and joined our retreat there as well. And then I met with him at his home in Phoenix, and we had these walks, 3 walks in the week that I was there, walking around the hills of Phoenix, and talking about everything to do with trading, life, everything, the whole toot. Yeah.
So it's really become a very much, in the sense, a very positive influence on your investing, but also just mindset, which you've been able to carry across to other areas of your life as well.
Well, I did to golf. The whole thing about golf and the whole expectations, the risks, water on the left, out of bounds on the right, all of that sort of thing. It all applied to golf. And I stopped playing golf as a junior as a 6 handicap. And typically people, you take up golf again later in life, really struggle with getting to a lower hand riding a bike, to a lower handicap than what you attained when you were a kid. And I came back to it in my 40s after finishing my cricket career and started playing golf seriously again for the first time since I was 16. And I got down to a 1.6 handicap by applying. And there's still a ceiling there that I've got to get through. But I attribute the mental side of golf, the psychology of golf, to what I got out of trading in the zone.
Yeah, and I think that's just the purpose of just discussing it. It's just so you get the realization of how close Gary was to Mark and the importance and the influence that he's had on Gary and the value that brings to us as individuals and also members of this great community.
Bit of a sojourn. Didn't think we were going to go into that much detail.
But exiting the opportunity flow altogether against the rules. So what does that mean? It just means just stepping out of the process, does it?
Just step out of the process. You go from being a player in the game to being a spectator. While you're a spectator, you got $0 at risk. And so there you're avoiding the risk of losing, of being a drawdown, of missing out, of all those sorts of things. You just become a spectator, and you go into, you basically go into excessive caution mode. And the quotes that we put up from John Bogle and correct. Yeah. So we don't want to do that. So we have to learn how we stay in the opportunity flow while truly, as a part of who we are, accepting all the risks from the environment in which we're operating. And that is not an analysis solution. It's a mental skills solution. Okay, so how will you accept the risks?
I don't think I could put the difference between consistent winners and everyone else more simply than this. The best traders aren't afraid.
Tough, which means you overcome fears.
Yeah.
Get into a lot more of that. So how will you accept the risks some more?
Learning how to redefine your trading activities in a way that allows you to completely accept the risk is the key to thinking like a successful trader.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to help you redefine how you execute in the environment in a way that you accept all these risks, because you can't analyze away the risks. You can't get rid of the risks. The risks are going to be there. And no matter how you invest, and we'll unpack this more in the next session, whether it's buy and hold, whether it's ETFs or stocks, or even if you go into a managed fund or you got somebody else looking after your money, the risks, you don't avoid them. They're all different risks. They're all different problems, but you will not experience a problem-free or risk-free investing environment anywhere. Even money in the bank is risky. Why is it risky? Because the moment you put your money into a cash account, you start going into drawdown, and you will stay in drawdown and go further into drawdown for the rest of your life because of inflation. And that's what Charles Ellis said. That's one of the big things is inflation and excessive caution are the two biggest things that we got to overcome.
Learning to accept the risk is a trading skill, the most important skill that you can learn. Yet it's rare that developing traders focus any attention or expend the effort to learn it.
And we've been in this game. We've had mechanical systems since 1998. So we've witnessed many thousands of customers have come through this business of developing and using executing, if you like, mechanical systems. But that last statement, it's rare that developing traders focus any intention or expend any effort on truly accepting risk. Because we've had lots of customers who when the adverse conditions come, they stop, and then they come back, and they stop, and they come back, and eventually they stay because they get it. And for some, it takes weeks or months to learn. Some it takes years. And I know of customers it's taken decades to learn, but they eventually learn it. And what we're trying to do here is try and get you to get this and convince your current dysfunctional beliefs in the best way we possibly know, by going to a mentor who is probably the source on the planet, ever has been and ever will be. And a lot of people who've used his work have re-articulated in different ways, but it effectively all comes from him, right? So the quicker you get this, the quicker you are going to get through that mistake period and become what we are trying to get you to, is a consistently peaceful and a successful investor in all market conditions. So please, I'm almost like appealing to you, get this stuff. It is key. There is simply no other way other than learning to accept risk as a part of who you are. How do you know? You have in your subconscious mind accepted it when the conflict goes, when the discomfort goes and it starts dissipating. And we're going to take you through some very specific exercises and drills to help you do that, because it's not something you can decide to be. It's a time-grown process. It's a time process that you've got to go through. It's not necessarily a function of time. It's a function of intentional, conscious thinking about it and understanding the path that you've got to be on to get there. And we've got that solution for you. We're going to take you through that. All we ask that you do is do the work. So hopefully you've got that. Right. And last slide of homework, you've got some reading to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So read chapter 1 of Trading in the Zone. If you haven't got a copy, you're going to need to get yourself a copy. Read it at least twice, preferably 5 times, and at least pages 7 to 6. There's also the Kindle 7 to 16. That'd be reading backwards. Kindle's 23 to 33 if you happen to have that version. And highlight or make your own notes. You've only got to look at Gary's copy of the book, and we might show that next week, that there's more writing in the sides of the pages and underlining than what there is text in the book on some pages. So, it's just a good way, because we're studying this book. We're not just reading it.
So chapter 1, that's really is emphasizing, or if you like, just what we've covered today is really what that is. And I'm going to try and get you to read this whole book multiple times, and it becomes easy each time, and you learn new things in between the different quotes that we put up. So it's only what is that 9 pages? Yeah, I'm sure you can read that twice.